Nothing is permanent in this world except impermanence. So, with that, let me ask you a question. What will you say if you ask yourself, I cannot imagine my life without dash? What will be your answer? Just ask yourself again. I cannot imagine myself or my life without dash. Just hold on to the thought and let's get back to it shortly. Hi, I'm Karthikeyan and welcome back to Oneness. Today is day 16 and we will be looking at verse 16 from Taoteching. So as usual, before we begin, let's observe a few seconds of silence. Thank you. So now let's look at verse 16 from Taoteching. Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind become still. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches their return. They grow and flourish and then return to the source. Returning to the source is stillness, which is the way of nature. The way of nature is unchanging. Knowing the constancy is insight. Not knowing the constancy leads to disaster. Knowing constancy, the mind is open. With an open mind, you will be open-hearted. Being open-hearted, you will act royally. Being royal, you will attain the divine. Being divine, you will be at one with the Tao. Being at one with the Tao is eternal. And though the body dies, the Tao will never pass away. Let's allow a few seconds to sink in with this verse. Alright. This verse, I like to call it as the way of impermanence. So to understand impermanence, we have to understand what is permanent. Is there anything that we can call or we can say is permanent? What you mean by permanent is everlasting, ever being, without change. Is there anything in this world? And when I say this world, there are two ways to observe the reality. One is absolute reality, another one is relative reality. According to Buddhism, we all live in relative reality and how we perceive the reality. So the verse 16 is all about impermanence. There are two things here the Laotzu talks about. The first is to understand the nature of impermanence. And the second one he talks about is how when we align ourselves and accept the truth that everything is impermanence, how we can reach the eternal Tao. So with that thought, let's look into the lines of Taoteching and understand what Laotzu means in each line. Empty yourself of everything. Here, what he means by everything is every attachment. So generally, we human beings tend to get attached to things or money or relationship. Even the love from the loved ones, we get attached to it. With attachment, there comes a fear. The fear is, what if I lose that? For an example, the beginning of this video, I asked you a question. And I asked you to fill in and ask yourself, I cannot imagine my life without dash. Whatever was your answer, just think about it. Just by imagining your life without that will cause a fear within you. And with the fear, what happens is we live from a place of fear instead of joy and happiness. Instead of spending more time appreciating, loving, and being with the thing that you love the most, we will live from a place of fear. For an example, if the answer is, I cannot imagine my life without my kids. So if I say that I cannot imagine my life without kids, I will start feeling the fear that what if one day there is something that happens to them? Or what if there is something that happens to me that I have to leave them? Both the ways I will be living out of fear. Instead, if I say that I accept impermanence as a state, and then even if it is with my kids, at one day they will grow up and they may not be around me. They may like me, they may not like me. And with that place, I can show so much love to them at this present moment. Every single moment that I'm being with them, I can be in love with them. So with that thought, let's go on to the second line. Let the mind become still. Here when he says still, he means that be with the thought that everything is impermanent. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches they are written. What he means by 10,000 things rise and fall is, we know from the history that everything rise and fall. The great kingdoms rise and fall, the great civilization rise and fall, including our breath rise and fall every moment. And it is a nature cycle. The cycle of nature is, there is a day, there is a night. We come from sleep and we become awake. And from awake, we go back to sleep. We will be happy some moment and we also be unhappy at different moments. And it is a very nature of life itself. Even our thoughts. Thought comes, thought goes. Breath comes, breath goes. Even the moments, every moment that we spend, every moment comes, every moment goes. It's always in a constant flux of cycles. And that also you can relate to seasons. There are 4 seasons that we talk about. It is in a nature's way of cycling through season. There comes a spring, there comes a summer, there comes a fall, there comes a winter. And every state has its own reason and purpose, and nature follows this cycle. The cycle is ever-changing permanent thing of nature, and accepting that as an impermanent state, that we can live without fear and be one with the nature itself. And also we can relate this, the idea of the way of impermanence, with a quote. This too shall pass, or this also will change. I was thinking about this quote, and then the first thing that came to my mind is, most people relate this too shall pass for a difficult time or the moments when they are unhappy. But then the true wisdom comes from accepting the same quote, this too shall pass, while being happy, instead of not attaching it while unhappy, but also while we are happy. Just accepting the reality is, this happiness also will pass. That prepares us for a moment, even that becomes challenging. It will also makes us accept to the unhappiness as a state as well, right? So the idea of being in impermanence, or understanding the state of being impermanence, is that we accept both happiness and unhappiness both equally. So that way, when we accept that, oh, the sadness or grief, that will also pass. At the same time, if I'm feeling happy, that moment also will pass. And by accepting that unhappiness, it doesn't make us like, oh my God, I'm going to lose the happiness soon. You don't go into the fear or feeling sad about going to lose the happiness. Instead, you will become more appreciative of the moments you feel happy. And that way, you bring in more joy and more fulfillment in the moments when you feel happiness around you. And you be more present with that specific moment. And that's what Laotzu talks about. The moment you understand the impermanence of the nature, you become one with the Tao, one with the source. With that thought, let's conclude verse 16. And one actionable thought for you is, ask yourself again the same question what we started with. I cannot imagine my life without dash. What is the thing that you said? What is the answer that is coming to you? Just be with that answer and ask yourself again that, is it permanent? And what happens if that thing goes away? Will you feel sad? Will you feel angry? Or will you fear of the loss and feel and live from the place of fear? And how can you change it and be much more appreciative of the thing that you are having right now in your life? And then allow yourself to accept the truth, the ultimate reality that whatever the thing is, one day that will also go away. Either you go away or the thing that you love will go away from you. With that thought, let's end the day 16 and see you tomorrow. Thank you.